Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And yes, I'm back again. You're probably all sick of me by now, but I have so much fun coming to Brighton, and it's great to obviously share all this knowledge and talk to everyone about all these different types of things that we're all getting up to and kind of the challenges that we're all facing on really a day-to-day basis in the roles that we're doing. So before I get started, just a little bit more about me. So as Becky says, I'm Director of SEO at Rush Auditees. We are an e-commerce company, the second largest in our space, hoping soon to be one of the largest, or the largest, should I say, if I can do my job properly. 7 years industry experience. I've worked across agency side, in-house and freelance now. I've worked with huge e-commerce brands and much smaller e-commerce brands across the UK, US and AU markets. And as she said, I am a judge. I've been an industry speaker and author and a number of other different things over this period of time. So why am I doing this talk today? So e-commerce sites are really big. We tend to get to a point with e-com sites that you kind of get to a what's next? What do I do now? How can I make this even better? I want to help give you some proven methods, things that I've used in the past across a number of different sites that have really helped me to increase visibility. And I also want to help you to kind of get a little bit more buy-in, give you guys something to go back to your board of directors, to the client, no matter what side of the SEO industry you're working with, to really kind of push this moving forward. So one of the things in advance of this talk I did was put out this poll on Twitter and on LinkedIn, asking everyone, when it comes to an e-commerce site, what do you focus on first? Where would you usually start? Now, the large portion of people came back with category and subcategory pages. That tends to be the first thing people look at. Then product pages, then branded and blog content, really more of those long-tail informational searches. And there were a few other questions as well. So I'm going to put this out to you, and I really hate audience participation normally when I'm in the audience, but I am going to put you all on the spot. So I'd love to know who actually starts with category and subcategory pages. If you could just raise your hands. Unsurprisingly, the majority of you. Product pages, how about that? Yeah, and how about blogs? And a few others. Pretty much aligns with this. And you know what? When we look at the actual answers that I got back from this poll, it tends to align with that. So Lydia, for example, says, I find optimization opportunities in the PDP template first. So she goes more towards the product pages. Josh looks a little bit more at internal linking strategy. L1, L2, L3 pages, so looking more at that hierarchy, whether that starts with category or subcategory pages, then product pages, then the blog. One of my personal favourites, Cindy, Merchant Center, using paid data to start with, and big no-no in SEO, let's talk about paid, but is a really good opportunity there to kind of find new opportunities. Charbel talks about really the organic revenue by page type, that kind of blog that Sam Wright's put together, that focuses much more on the subcategory and the category pages. So there's so many different answers here. But when we're talking about those category and subcategory pages, why do people choose them a lot of the time? Mostly, main head terms equals the most volume. And as I say, little asterisks there, most of the time. And that's why a lot of the time we tend to choose that as step one. Most volume equals most traffic, if you can get it ranking. Most traffic equals most sales, depending on the intent behind these main category and subcategory pages. And most sales equals happy stakeholders, literally always. If you're bringing in money, that's always going to be the big win for you. But that's not always the case. Then if we want to look at product pages first, why do people do that? Product sales through organic equals revenue, which equals ROI, that bottom line. That's a really important factor for anyone trying to get buy-in for SEO. But you do have to consider the longevity of the products that you are pushing out from an SEO perspective. But then if you want to look at information architecture first, well, internal linking, quick wins, long-term strategy, that's what SEO is, right? It's all about the long term. So there's so many different ways that you can approach an e-commerce strategy first and foremost. But as David likes to say, it's a whole lot of it depends. And of course I had to throw that in there. But once that's kind of where you've started, whether you've chosen categories, subcategories, products, or blog content, then what? What is next? And that's really what my talk is about today. Because when it comes to SEO, we want to be getting more visible. We want to be really showcasing our stuff. Broader visibility is likely to lead to more relevant traffic. And when it comes to kind of online market space, people are taking a lot longer to convert now. Originally, AIDA was kind of the big model that everyone in all types of marketing followed. Awareness, interest, desire, action, that's the marketing funnel. Well, actually, it's not anymore. We look at awareness, interest, then we've got consideration, we've got evaluation, we've got action, and then you want to be pulling them back. You want people to keep coming back to you, right? Engagement, loyalty. And in order to really capture all of those different areas of the marketing funnel, you can better collaborate with other marketing channels and really talking to product merchandising teams, talking to social media teams, talking about what are your customers really after, talking to your data teams. There's so many different avenues that you can take with this strategy. And then we've got to really take into consideration SERP changes, everything that's going on. And I touched on this a little bit later in the presentation. But it means you really do need to be as visible as possible. So let's actually dive into my 5 steps after that very long introduction. So step 1, competitor analysis and content gap. The reason why I really like to focus on this as my first step after I kind of do my initial optimization is because I can really uncover some of those keywords that I'm missing out on. Whether that's different areas that my main competitors, and when I'm talking about competitors, I'm not necessarily talking about the people you see as competitors in a retail kind of point of view. It's those search competitors as well. So as kind of Sam said, looking at search results, looking at seeing what's ranking for all these different terms. But one important thing to consider is to not just run a content gap analysis through a tool and then call it a day. And this is a mistake I see a lot of SEOs really struggle with, because you end up running it through, whether it's SEMrush, Ahrefs, no matter what your preference is, finding and filtering those different areas, and then saying, oh, we've missed out on all of these keywords, let's optimize for them. There's so much more to the process than that. Because you really need to better understand intent behind all of the different terms. Who is it you're targeting? Are they looking to purchase? Is it more informational, that particular search intent? Is there kind of more of a structure that you need to put in place? Going back to that original funnel that I spoke about earlier, how can we capture everyone in all of these different stages and really map out a content strategy around that? You can also really use it to bring new categories and new products almost to market. And this is something that I've had experience with, where I conducted a content gap analysis and did a bit of competitor research with a client in Australia. And they turned around and was like, well, our competitors are offering all of these products, but we don't even have them in stock. And I was like, well, you're using the same supplier. Why don't you offer it on your website? Well, we just kind of thought that people would just know that we did. Most of the time people don't. They probably don't know who you are. So you can really use that content gap and that kind of analysis, that competitor research, to uncover these new categories and bring these products to market. And as I mentioned, really just manually review your competitors' content, because with the tools, as great as they are, and it can really automate a lot of this process, they might pull up articles that, or they may not pull up articles, should I say, that actually are not ranking for specific keywords, but are actually really valuable to the users, that could really also be valuable to yours. So as I say, think about every stage of the funnel and map that user journey. Going back to that funnel kind of concept that I spoke about, understand what type of content is in your awareness stage, what's in your interest stage, what's the desire, or if we go back to more of the SEO terminology, your transactional stages, your awareness stage, all of these different things, and actually map what that looks like for your whole user journey. And funnily enough, filters, as Sam was talking about earlier. Filters are a real hive of opportunity. Breaking out all of your different filters. One of the things I like to do is actually set up click tracking and pull in dashboard reports on my filter activity. And the reason for this is because I can actually better understand, moving away from search volume, what people who are on my website are actually looking for that they might genuinely be struggling to find, that you can build out dedicated pages for. So really take advantage of the filters that you've got there. Step 2, don't forget your PDPs, your product display pages, your actual product pages that people check out on. When I ran the poll, I think the second most popular option was the product pages. And everyone's saying, we do actually prioritise these. But when it comes to my experience, this actually isn't always the case. Things that I've seen, duplicate content. And I'm not just talking duplicate content within the site, but it's content that's been extracted from maybe the supplier website, things like that. Quick opportunity, let's put it on, we need to just get this product page up. but you're missing all of the opportunities you could have with unique content. No content, again, another example, 600 odd URLs, they're not being indexed. Why are they not being indexed? Well, you've got nothing on there. It's just a picture, a button to check out. There's nothing to actually make Google want to index that page. And just really crap content, guys. Like, the amount of crappy content I've seen on product pages, wow, it's unbelievable. So Ryan Jones at SEO Testing actually did an article about this, about some of their favourite kind of product display pages. And there's a few examples of different things that you can include. So making sure you've got video, really strong images. Am I talking about SEO now? Maybe I'm talking a little bit about user experience, but really, they do go hand in hand. Design insights, lots of bullet points, really just helping to improve that user journey. Another example here, some nice little icons, nutrition information, ingredients, how to use. Some of these things are answering questions that your users might actually have without you needing to really create tons of content within a blog or something like that to answer them. And this is really product specific. And again, you don't need thousands of words of unique content on a PDP. I've seen examples where there's no content, and I've seen examples of too much content. So it really is just trying to find that balance. One of the main kind of sites I like to look at when it comes to e-commerce is actually Amazon. The reason being, they are a giant in the e-commerce space. But obviously, when it comes to a lot of Amazon pages, most of the time it's people like us actually filling in that information. But if you look at the products they're pushing themselves, such as the Echo, you'll see that there's all of this opportunity to do this actually on your own PDPs as well. So they've got quite a lot of content. They've got lots of kind of bullet points and loads of stuff talking about their main features. They've got a really nice visual box. This is the latest model. This is what's changed compared to the previous one. They've got a few different related products, comparison products, different things that other customers have also bought, pulling all of these in. Some nice little icons, really improving that kind of user experience generally. And then a comparison, so almost like a SaaS company, but actually comparing all of their different devices. If you're selling very similar products on your website, why not have that comparison on there between the kind of 2 or 3 or 5 or however many products it is that are actually similar? Because you might actually be able to help users along that journey. And then UGC as well. If you haven't got reviews on your product pages yet, because you haven't collected them, so try and start an email marketing campaign and try and start getting some of those reviews. People are taking so much longer to convert. They're spending so much more time doing this research, looking at what your competitors are doing, looking at user reviews. Rather than trying to send them left, right, and centre, keep everything all on your main pages, but make sure it is product specific. And the reason why I say let's talk about and let's focus on our PDPs, when actually historically I was always a category and subcategory person, is because of SGE and the way that this is potentially going to be changing the search landscape and how we're searching. Women's running shoes. If you was to search that as a key term on your traditional kind of Google results page without SGE, you will get categories and subcategories showing up. But when you actually test this in what SGE potentially might look like, maybe it won't, we don't know yet, it's actually pulling through lots of product pages instead. And this isn't paid, this is actually organic product pages coming through. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. Maybe people will need to start focusing on PDPs if this is what SGE is going to start coming through with. And again, this is the example of what the actual listings looks like organically now. So you can see there's a really big change, and that should potentially evolve your focus there. So step 3, long-tail blog content. Caveat, it's not just for SaaS. And this is often what I see when it comes to any kind of e-commerce strategy. We don't need to worry about our long tail. We don't need to worry about our blog because our categories, our product pages, all of that's going to capture everything that we need. But actually, when it comes to your blog, when it comes to kind of your guides, different areas like that, there is a lot of opportunity in pushing your products, capturing long tails by answering more questions, working with product merch teams and other marketing channels to really align and build out a really integrated, overarching strategy. SEO shouldn't just be siloed into the one channel that pushes different areas. If you can talk to your social teams or you can talk to your product merchandising teams and find out the questions that people are asking, you can actually use it to be really plugged into the buyer's entire journey through your website, but then also through their whole transactional process as well. So how to do this? What do we focus on? You can monitor industry trends, events, and seasonal changes, build out a really extensive content calendar. A lot of the time when it comes to all of your other different types of marketing channels, people will work a few months ahead. SEO should definitely be the same, and we should be feeding into that. Consider how users might phrase queries conversationally. Now, I'm not going to talk about voice search because I think everyone's been talking about voice search being the next big thing for the last 10 years. It's never really happened, right? But the way people are searching is going to be different. The way SGE is kind of coming in and potentially changing things is going to be different. So really consider that from a conversational perspective and build content around that too. And then build out that topical relevancy. Not just necessarily for a particular product, but for a particular category, or if there's a space you really want to dominate, whether in my case that's custom t-shirts or a type of t-shirt, or whether it's a particular type of technical product, whatever it is, you can build topical relevancy using your blog, really strong internal linking, back to your product pages, back to your main category pages, and just connect the dots. Really make that whole journey a lot easier for people. And remember, SEO is an assist. Big brands don't disappear from Google. So if you can really build out this whole structure and build out this topical relevancy, you will eventually start to build out your brand as well. Even if you are a really small e-commerce site now, building out all of these different aspects will help you to be a big brand. So no matter what the algorithm change happens or what kind of is thrown at you from a Google perspective, you're not going to disappear. You'll be relevant everywhere. And again, when it comes to SGE, if I typed in custom t-shirts, which now shows up with a lot of organic listings of categories and subcategories into Google, we also have this box of different long-tail blog articles. So again, building out that relevancy will potentially future-proof the site. Step 4, customer feedback and FAQs. FAQs is a touchy subject because we used to have FAQ schema and we overdid it, and now this is why we can't have nice things. But when it comes to FAQs, it doesn't really remove how valuable FAQs are when we don't have FAQ schema in search results anymore. They're still very valuable because you're still answering people's questions. So monitor social channels, forums, online communities, talk to your social teams, as I said, your product merch teams. There's so much information that you can use to really push these FAQs across your site. Remember that your content should always be user first, and that should be always the focal point of any e-commerce strategy. Step 5, content performance reviews. So it kind of sounds like a bit of a, something you would do internally, right, between teams. But actually, some of the biggest wins that I've found from an e-commerce perspective come from understanding your existing performance. Where you are now and where you want to be can help you to really understand how you're going to get there. And one of the biggest things for me is how much of a big difference that kind of click-through rate of ranking mid-page 1 to top of page 1 is going to be. Now, I don't like talking specifically about keywords. I think SEO is so much bigger than that. But pushing some of your high-performing pages with just a little push, whether that's updated content, improved user experience, your click-through rate goes through the roof. So there's so much more you can do with that. Ask yourself these kind of questions. Does this page include everything my customer would need to see and would need to know if it's the first page that they land on? Really understand that, and that will help you to take that page to the next level. Regularly review your strategy, pick up changes of intent, continue looking at the search landscape, looking at Google, seeing what's happening, avoiding that ticking time bomb that Sam was mentioning earlier. There's so many different ways that you can kind of review that performance and review how well you're going to be performing in the future and adapting your strategy to do so. So really just to summarise, where you start, whether that's categories, product pages, blogs or other, is going to be unique to your site. So when we're running polls like this, or that I did previously, just because everyone else is doing categories and subcategories first doesn't necessarily mean you should as well. It totally depends on what exactly you're pushing and what the priorities are for your business. SGE is potentially, and I say potentially because we don't know really what this is going to look like. This is all just tests from Google. But they're going to bring more prominence to blogs and also to PDPs. So make sure you are factoring this into your strategy as well. Your competitor analysis and your content gap is going to really help you to find new market opportunities. Set up tracking on your filters to really help to gain more understanding of intent, and it will also help to potentially uncover some of those new opportunities. PDPs, they're your core conversion point. Make sure you optimize it. Convince people to buy that product. Build topical relevancy through your blog, potentially a hub and spoke strategy, really strong internal linking. Build brand awareness and EEAT. And remember, big brands don't get lost in SERPs. Leverage customer service teams, product merchandising and other departments for FAQs and user-first content. There's so much that you can consider. And your biggest wins are really likely to come from just giving your top performing pages a little bit more of a push and get them from mid-page 1 to top of page 1. Regularly review your strategy for changes of intent, performance, and search results pages and what's actually going to avoid the ticking time bomb. And that will really help you to see what's next with your e-commerce strategy. Thank you.